Night had fallen softly upon the hills of Assisi, wrapping the valley in a veil of silence. Inside the humble cloister, St. Francis knelt alone in prayer, lips moving with gentle devotion. The brothers had long since gone to rest, but Francis remained awake, his heart lifted toward heaven with the quiet yearning that never left him. "Lord," he whispered, "grant peace to all creation tonight, to every soul you have made." The candle flickered beside him, though there was no wind. Francis thought little of it, until a sound drifted through the open archway, faint and strange. It was not the rustling of leaves, nor the cry of any animal familiar to him. It was deeper, almost like a voice, carried by a sorrow too heavy for the night to contain. He lifted his head. Again the sound, a low groan, as if born not from the throat, but from the heart of the earth. He rose slowly, stepped outside, and walked toward the darkened gardens. The moon hung pale above, casting long shadows across the ground. A cold air pressed against his skin. Then he saw it. Between the olive trees, a shape formed, first like fog, then like flesh. A stag, majestic, tall, its antlers gleaming silver beneath the moonlight. But the body, oh, the body, seemed half transparent, as though the creature belonged partly to this world and partly to another. Francis froze, not in fear, but in awe. "My brother," he murmured softly, "why do you suffer so?" The stag raised its head, and its eyes met his, dark, endless, filled with a sorrow no living creature should carry. When it spoke, the voice entered Francis's heart more than his ears. "I am no longer among the living, Holy Father." Francis felt his breath catch. "Who has done this to you?" The stag lowered its head, and Francis saw a wound like bright crimson light in the place where the heart should beat. "Men, hunters, for sport, not hunger. I fell beneath their arrows, and my breath left this earth." Francis felt tears rising. "Oh, dear creation of God!" But the spirit was not finished. "I return not for myself, but for my children, my little ones still hiding in the forest. They are hunted even now. Their mother too has fallen. I beg you, save them." Francis stepped closer, his hands trembling with compassion. "Your children? They still live?" The stag bowed, as if the weight of its plea crushed even its spirit. "They will not survive another night." Francis pressed his palm to his chest. "Show me where, and I will go." The stag turned toward the distant woods. Its form flickered, like a candle struggling against wind. And in a breath of cold night air, the spirit vanished, leaving Francis alone beneath the moon, trembling, knowing heaven had placed a mission upon him he could not ignore. That night, long after the spirit vanished into the cold air, Francis returned to prayer, but his heart could find no rest. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the wounded stag, its mournful eyes pleading in the silence of his soul. He tried to speak to God, but before a single word formed, a sudden heaviness fell upon him, as if the night pressed its weight against his very spirit. The chapel around him dimmed, the candles blurred into streaks of gold. Francis felt himself sinking into something deeper than sleep, a vision, unbidden yet unmistakably divine. Suddenly, he stood not in the chapel, but within a forest shrouded in darkness.
The trees loomed high, their branches twisting like desperate hands reaching toward heaven. From somewhere ahead, he heard branches snapping, footsteps running, then the piercing cry of a young deer, a sound so sharp it seemed to cut his heart open. He rushed forward, and there before him unfolded a scene of unbearable cruelty. Hunters chasing a small herd through the underbrush. Their torches burned like firebrands, and the hounds roared with savage hunger. The deer tried to flee, tiny bodies trembling, stumbling, but the hunters only laughed as arrows sliced the night air. Francis cried out, "Stop!" but his voice vanished like smoke. He understood. He was not truly present in flesh. He was being shown, not allowed to intervene. Another cry, higher, desperate. A fawn collapsed beside a fallen tree, its leg pierced by an arrow. The mother attempted to shield it, but a spear drove through her side. Blood blossomed against the leaves, dark as the night itself. Francis fell to his knees. And then, suddenly, the hunters' faces came into focus. He did not know them by name, yet he recognized something far more painful. The cold satisfaction in their eyes, the thrill of domination over helpless life. There was no hunger, no survival, only pride and the intoxication of killing what could not defend itself. "Forgive them, Lord," Francis whispered through tears, "for they do not know what they destroy." But still the slaughter continued, and with every creature that fell, Francis felt the forest itself tremble with grief, like the earth mourning its own children. He felt the wound of creation, deep and ancient, widening with every arrow loosed. He awoke gasping, drenched in sorrow, knowing the pain of heaven itself had been laid upon him.
Morning broke over Assisi with the gentle brightness of autumn, washing the hills in amber light. The brothers gathered for prayer, each unaware of the anguish that had consumed Francis throughout the night. His eyes were shadowed, not with exhaustion, but with sorrow too deep for human rest. After the morning psalms, a commotion stirred near the monastery gates. Francis stepped outside, and there he saw a group of men, wealthy citizens from the town, dressed in fine leather, accompanied by hunting dogs and servants carrying spears. They approached with confident strides, as though their presence were a right rather than a request. "Good morning, Brother Francis," their leader said, removing his hat with a smirk rather than reverence. "We come to request permission to hunt further into the forest beyond your lands. We hear the deer run plentifully there this season." Francis felt the earth tighten beneath his feet. Images from the night returned: blood, terror, the cries of the helpless. "My brothers," he replied gently, "the forest has suffered enough bloodshed. These creatures are our companions in God's creation. I beg you, show mercy. There is no need to take more life." The hunters exchanged amused glances. Then laughter broke from them, loud and careless. "Mercy?" one scoffed. "They are animals, good friar. The Lord placed them on earth for man's use. What harm is there in a little sport?" "Sport?" Francis repeated, voice trembling. "To you, perhaps, but to them it is their very life." The leader waved his hand dismissively. "We do not hunt to starve them, only to entertain ourselves. Surely even the saints needed recreation." The others chuckled at their own wit. Francis tried again, his voice firmer. "A creature's life is not entertainment. They suffer as we suffer. Their young cry for mothers who will never return. I plead with you, leave the forest in peace." But instead of compassion, the hunters only laughed louder. "Then pray for them if you wish, but your prayers will not fill our bellies with venison." The words struck Francis like a blow. From behind him, several friars approached anxiously. Brother Elias whispered urgently, "Francis, you must not provoke them. These are noblemen. It is not for us to interfere in the affairs of the world." Francis turned slowly. "If protecting God's creatures is not our affair, then what is?" he said softly. Brother Elias frowned. "Your zeal is holy, yes, but dangerous. Men will think you mad. Leave such matters to the town authorities." Francis faced the hunters again, tears threatening. "If there must be sport, let it be with your pride, not the innocent." This time the leader laughed in open contempt. "Say what you like, Holy Father. We will hunt, and no ghost in the woods nor praying friar will stop us." They turned their horses toward the forest path, leaving Francis trembling, not with fear, but with a terrible, righteous sorrow. Francis did not wait for counsel or permission. Before the sun climbed high, he left the monastery grounds and walked into the deep forest, guided only by the memory of the Spirit's plea. The path was overgrown, the trees thick and silent, yet Francis heard something beneath the stillness. Tiny breaths, faint whimpers that trembled through the leaves like broken prayer. The deeper he walked, the louder the sorrow became. Finally, near a fallen oak, he found them. 3 young deer, their bodies thin and trembling, hid beneath the tangled roots. One limped, a fresh wound staining its leg. Another kept calling softly, the sound barely more than a breath, searching for a mother who would never return. Francis sank to his knees beside them. Tears filled his eyes. "Little ones," he whispered, "you need not fear me." But they trembled still, wild, terrified, wounded not only in flesh, but in spirit. A cold wind passed, and suddenly Francis sensed a presence beside him, gentle, sorrowing. He turned and found the spirit of the mother standing near, her spectral body shimmering between branches like moonlight caught in water. The wound on her chest still glowed like burning stone. "These are my children," the spirit murmured, voice thin with regret. "I could not protect them." Francis bowed his head. "Holy God, look with mercy upon your creatures, for they belong to your love, not to the cruelty of men." The mother gazed at him with profound gratitude, as though even death could not extinguish maternal grief. Then one of the smallest fawns stepped forward, eyes wide and gleaming, with a strange, ancient knowing. It did not speak with lips, yet its thoughts pressed into Francis's soul like a whisper carried across eternity. "Will you keep us alive?" Francis placed his hand gently over his heart. "As long as I breathe, no harm will come to you." Another voice, softer, almost infant-like, drifted into him. "We are afraid of the night and of the men who return." Francis lifted the trembling fawn into his arms as though cradling a child. "Then I will stand between you and every arrow," he vowed. Above him the forest rustled, not with fear now, but with a fragile hope.
At dusk, a heavy silence fell over the woods of Assisi. The leaves barely moved, and even the birds seemed unwilling to sing. Francis felt something shifting in the air, like creation itself was holding its breath. He and Brother Leo walked the narrow path beneath tall oaks until they suddenly noticed strange patterns on the ground. Metal glimmered between fallen branches, sharpened teeth made of iron. The hunters had returned. They had set traps everywhere, under leaves, behind rocks, beneath the shade of old trees, dozens of them, some baited with salt, some with fresh apples. They were not hunting only for food. They were prepared for slaughter. Brother Leo bent down and touched a steel trap gently, almost reverently, as if touching something cursed. "Brother Francis, this is no ordinary hunt." Francis already knew that. He felt the sorrow of nature rising like night wind against his heart. "They do not hunt only bodies," he whispered. "They hunt innocence itself." Just then, another friar appeared from the path, Brother Matteo, known for his sober thinking and suspicion toward anything mystical. His tone was sharp, impatient. "Brother Francis, you must stop wandering after shadows. The hunters have legal right from the town council. The forest is theirs today."
Francis looked at him, peaceful but unwavering. "And who owns what was created by God?" Matteo sighed, frustrated. "We are friars, not guardians of animals. Our duty is in the convent, prayers, readings, confessions. What you are doing is foolish and dangerous. We cannot protect every wandering creature." Francis did not answer him with argument. Instead, he gently disarmed a trap, pressing the sharp spring open and removing the bait. Matteo trembled with anger. "Listen to reason. The brothers worry you are becoming involved in earthly matters. Souls of men, not animals, should concern us." Francis replied softly, "When one creature suffers unjustly, all creation groans, and heaven hears it." Just then, a cold bust circled them, unnatural, whispering like a voice hidden in wind. Francis's heart tightened. He knew the presence immediately, the doe, the mother whose life had been taken. The spirit moved through branches, almost forming shape among drifting mist. "Francis, tonight they come in numbers." He felt the words more than heard them, a sorrow so deep it almost felt like memory. "They will kill without mercy." Brother Leo shuddered. He couldn't see the spirit, but he sensed something immense and grieving. Matteo stepped back, his expression uneasy, perhaps even afraid, but he quickly hardened himself again. "Dreams, visions, nothing more," he muttered. But the spirit spoke again, desperate. "Tonight, blood will cover the roots of this forest. Stop them if you can." Francis bowed his head in silent prayer. "We will do what must be done." The forest thickened with shadows around them. The night was no longer simply night. It was warning. The battle had not yet begun, but its echo was already in the wind. The moon had climbed high above the forest, spilling pale silver across branches wet with night dew. Francis walked ahead of the brothers with quiet purpose, like a shepherd moving toward danger rather than away from it. In the clearing ahead, torches flickered. Harsh voices broke the silence, men preparing their bows, checking arrows, laughing as if the night itself belonged to them. The hunters spread out under the trees, aiming upward where frightened shapes rustled. Francis saw the silhouettes of young deer huddled behind thick trunks, trembling with every human footfall. A hunter raised his bow. The string tightened. Francis stepped forward from the darkness and stood openly between the men and the animals. He did not raise a weapon. He raised only himself. The bowstring trembled, held taut in hesitation as the hunter squinted through the torchlight. "What madman walks into a hunt?" the man shouted. Francis lifted both arms, the same gesture he used when blessing bread or lifting prayer to heaven. His voice rang clear, stronger than his small body seemed capable of. "Brothers, these are not your prey. They are our brothers in creation, sons and daughters of the same God who formed us all." A strange quiet fell, like fire suddenly losing air. 6 hunters lowered their bows a little, only a little, but something was breaking in them. Francis took another step, as if guided by a light the others could not see. His presence filled the clearing, not by force, but by compassion made fearless. A kind of glow, unearthly yet gentle, seemed to rest on him, like moonlight bending nearer. The friars watching from behind felt it too, a stillness that silenced every mocking thought.
One hunter tried to joke, but the words fell flat. Another lifted his weapon again, but his hand shook. He could not bear Francis's gaze, so full of sorrow and yet forgiveness. "For every creature suffers when another suffers," Francis continued. "And when cruelty enters the world, it wounds not beasts first, but human souls." A long silence followed. No man moved. Francis's robe fluttered in a sudden wind. Leaves circled around his feet, as though the forest itself rose to listen. Something sacred poured from him, unspoken, undeniable. At last, the oldest hunter, hardened by years and victories in the wild, lowered his bow completely. His voice cracked. First time in his life, the hunt did not command him. "Why does heaven stand with you?" Francis answered simply, "Because heaven stands with the smallest of us."
Night had not fully passed, though torches had burned to embers. The hunters stood stiff like stone pillars, unsure whether to run or argue. The forest itself held its breath. Leaves trembled without wind, as if some presence moved among them unseen. Then, in the dimness between tree and shadow, a shape began to take form. Francis felt it before he saw it, a warmth like remembered sunlight touching the heart. A shimmering outline appeared, tall and graceful, though wounded still. The spirit of the mother deer, her ghostly body glowing as if carved from moonbeams, stepped forward. One hunter gasped, another rubbed his eyes, believing drink or darkness deceived him. Some saw only a blur, yet every man felt something pass through him: awe, fear, sorrow, and a sudden knowledge that they were not alone in this forest. The oldest hunter dropped to his knees, the bow slipped from his hand and fell silently into the grass. Francis bowed deeply. "Peace to you, gentle soul." The spirit turned her luminous eyes toward the hunters. No human accusation burned there, only a pain deeper than words, a grief that made even the hardest heart tremble. A sound rose, not quite heard, but felt, a soft cry echoing across the clearing, as if carried through the first dawn of creation. It touched every man differently. Some trembled, some shivered, others felt a childlike guilt they thought long buried.
One hunter whispered, voice shaking, "This is a judgment." The spirit looked toward Francis, as if entrusting something precious. Francis understood without explanation. He stepped forward, placing himself fully between man and beast, earth and heaven. "Brothers," Francis proclaimed, voice resonant with something beyond human strength, "this forest is the work of God's hands. These creatures are entrusted to us, not for destruction, but for love." His eyes blazed with conviction. "From this night forward, by the grace of our Lord, this wood is under protection. Heaven has given it into our care. And I, Francis, servant of the Most High, accept the charge." The hunters recoiled at those words, as if heaven itself had spoken them. Some fled into the dark, unable to bear the presence that pressed upon their souls. Others remained frozen, humbled, and terrified. The spirit bowed her head once more, then slowly dissolved into the night air, like mist meeting dawn. But her presence did not fade. Everyone knew, even those who saw nothing, the forest had just changed forever.
Morning light crept gently across the treetops, dissolving the final shadows of night. The forest smelled of damp earth and pine. Francis stood before the hunters, not as an accuser, but like a father concerned for wandering sons. Their faces were pale. The memory of the apparition had marked them more deeply than any wound of battle or hunt. One of them, broad-shouldered, scarred, known in Assisi as the proudest of woodsmen, stepped forward, but his voice faltered. We meant only to live by our skill." Francis regarded him with a quiet kindness that felt almost unbearable. "God never forbade a man to feed his family," he said gently. "But when killing becomes pleasure rather than necessity, we begin to starve our own souls." The men shifted, unable to answer. Francis continued, "What I ask is not your punishment, but your mercy. Leave this forest to heal. Let the young live. Let the mothers return. Let this place be sanctuary." One hunter clenched his jaw. "And what then? We go hungry? Our children starve because the friar loves deer?" Francis approached him, laying a hand on his trembling shoulder. "There is work in the fields around Assisi, tilling soil, tending flocks, repairing roofs and walls. Come to the convent. We will help you find honest labor. You can earn bread without shedding blood." The man shook his head as if fighting something within him, but then his voice broke like a branch under too much weight. We did not know what we were destroying." His eyes filled suddenly, uncontrollably with tears. He turned away, ashamed, but Francis drew him into an embrace like a lost brother. One by one the others lowered their bows to the earth, not as weapons surrendered, but burdens released. A younger man, barely grown, threw himself on his knees. "Forgive us," he cried. "We thought ourselves strong, but we were cruel." Francis whispered a blessing, his voice steady, though his heart trembled with compassion. "Let your tears water the roots of this forest. From them mercy shall grow." As the hunters wept openly, men who had once boasted of their fearlessness, the forest seemed to breathe again. A soft wind swept through branches, carrying away the sorrow like incense rising toward heaven. And in that moment, every creature hidden among the trees understood. Mercy had returned to the earth. Morning unfolded slowly, as though the forest itself was awakening after a long night of fear. Mist curled along the roots and drifted between branches like white silk being gathered away by invisible hands. For a moment, there was only silence, pure, listening, almost sacred. Then, one by one, delicate shapes stepped from behind trunks and fallen stones. The young deer, once trembling, once hunted, now emerged into the open clearing. Their hooves touched the moss without hesitation. Their eyes, large and dark, reflected nothing of last night's terror. They moved gently, cautiously, yet without the shadow of fear that had followed them for days. Francis stood waiting.
He did not move until the smallest came close enough to brush its head against his robe. Only then did he kneel. His fingers traced a slow, reverent cross above the creature's brow. "Bless you, little brother," he whispered. And he continued. One by one, he blessed each young deer with tenderness, as though touching living prayer. "May God guide your steps through peaceful grass," he said over the second. "May heaven be your shelter over the third. May love guard you wherever human hands have harmed."
The fawns circled him, no longer desperate but trusting. They pressed against him as though recognizing something ancient, something older than fear, older even than death. A soft light shimmered behind them. Francis sensed rather than saw it. The spirit of the father deer, proud and graceful, stood near the edge of sunlight. His wound had faded, no longer raw and burning, now only a faint shadow of what had been taken. He looked toward his children with quiet triumph, then toward Francis with gratitude deeper than words. His voice, like wind through distant treetops, flowed into the saint's soul. "My children belong to you now." Francis bowed, not to the spirit, but to the love that bound parent to child, even beyond death. "No," he answered softly, "they belong to God. I am only his servant." The spirit seemed to smile, though no human face could have shaped such grace. Slowly, like morning light dissolving the stars, the deer's form faded. His outline shimmered once, golden, peaceful, and was gone. But Francis knew he did not leave in sorrow. He left in peace. The forest breathed. Birds began to sing in branches that had been silent since dawn. A soft rustle moved through ferns as sunlight warmed the earth. It felt as if every leaf bowed, every stone exhaled, nature reclaiming harmony. Francis gently touched the youngest fawn one last time and looked to the trees. "May this place be a cradle of peace," he said, "for all who walk upon God's earth." The deer followed him a few steps, then turned toward the depths of the forest. They were no longer fugitives. They were home.
Francis watched the first light of dawn spread across the treetops, turning every leaf into a small burning lamp of gold. A gentle warmth settled over the earth, as if heaven itself was blessing the new peace born in the night. Behind him, the hunters, no longer hunters, walked the perimeter of the woods, gathering traps, burying arrows, and speaking softly with the friars about rebuilding what they had once tried to destroy. They had become guardians almost overnight, humbled protectors of the very lives they once pursued. Francis breathed deeply, feeling the quiet pulse of God moving through bark and soil. This place, once scarred by cruelty, now felt like a cradle of life, a sanctuary where holiness took root not in stone altars, but in living branches and beating hearts. He knelt on the moss, hands folded in prayer. "Lord," he whispered, "remember the innocent ones who suffer by our ignorance. Heal the wounds men have carved into your creation, and take into your mercy those creatures killed without cause, that they may dwell in your everlasting peace." A gentle breeze answered, stirring the trees like a choir of green voices, as if the whole forest prayed with him.